which is about my favorite company. It gets a lot of heat. I feel like I'm gonna. I've actually stuffed up the things. I'll do it like this, so this actually works.
Oh, okay.
Yes, cool.
It gets a lot of heat, but one thing it doesn't get is products out to people.
And one thing it doesn't get is information in our run sheet into God.
Well, yeah, no, it's all in my head, so it's all good. So what are we talking about? We're talking about Analogue. So Analogue, every 16th of October for like 4 years straight now, have released a new product or announced a new product. And as Mike rightfully criticized, the last two announcements, which were last year the Duo, which is, PC Engine, TurboGrafx clone, FPGA clone, hasn't even had an announcement to say you can order it. And then the Pocket, which was 2 years ago, almost, well, to the day, effectively yesterday, I have two on the way, and they have been delayed twice. So it's December now. And I do get nervous when I think they'll be shipping it from their factories in China / Vietnam or wherever it is, then all the way to Seattle and then all the way to Australia. I feel like I might not see it until like Feb or March or something like that. It's going to be brutal.
Especially when Australia Post get involved.
Yeah, true.
In that case, it's probably 2024, but yeah.
So when they did post on Twitter to say, hey, we've got like a special announcement and all this stuff, man, I think I said to you guys from memory, like I got like super, super nervous, right? So I was actually very pleased, and I'll run through this fairly quickly. Fairly pleased to see that they didn't announce a new product, like massive tick. They really were just talking about, what's happening with Analog going forward, and then also like with the Pocket itself. So what they did is they sort of, showed off the UI, the operating system for the Pocket called the AnalogueOS. And like number one off the bat for people who are listening, check it out. It looks to me, it's so sick. I love the interface. Like the interfaces with Analog to me are just like perfection. Like they're so well designed and thought through. Like the Pocket itself can display any color, obviously, but the whole interface is built around a black and white motif that to me just looks really, really cool. And the whole idea behind this is that it's actually like a library. Like they're trying to go for, the one-stop place where you can find everything. Some of the big announcements that they've included, like with all this information that's coming out, is that, and we didn't know this before, that you can save the game state at any moment in time. So these are like cartridge games. You can just press the button and actually save your state and pick it up later. To me, even though I already ordered 2 Analogue Pockets, that was like almost the most important thing for me to know what they're doing around that, because I was like super nervous to go, shit, if I'm trying to like find, even with Game Boy games where they're built around, get up and go, not being able to just like pause really quickly and then go to something else and then pick it up again. Like I was just kind of nervous about that. I was like, oh, is it going to be like a low power mode? Like all these issues like that we're going to have. This is awesome. This is actually the first time it's ever been done where someone's been able to have a proper save state FPGA with cartridges themselves. The other one, and this is where it gets a bit interesting for me, is they talk about you can create and share playlists. Because there's a library, you can actually go through all these kind of things and pull together playlists that you can take the SD out and give it to someone else and put it into their Pocket, and they'll have that playlist. One thing that I love, and it's a little bit down on this page, is you can track your gameplay. Like I love this in the DS and the 3DS. So like I'm super pumped about this kind of stuff. This is very, very cool. Screenshots, I'm big on screenshots now. I took stacks of screenshots when I was playing through Metroid Dread. I totally understand that this has happened, but you have to actually add your own box art. Like they have a really cool layout where it shows all the box art, but that obviously is not going to come with the Pocket. Totally understand why from a copyright perspective. And they are treating this as like a reference level database. So they're putting in a lot of effort, just like they do with their FPGA, to actually get this working. We already knew that you can plug this into like the CRT, the like handheld or like an LCD screen. It did make me realize like these are LCD screens, not OLED screens. And they are making that like just reinforcing that to people just to remind them that it is that. Just the last few things on this page that I wanted to shout out, that even though they've announced all these things, in December when they finally start shipping units with AnalogueOS 1.0, it's almost all of them are not going to be available. Like library memory and tracking will not be available at launch, which is most of the stuff that they've talked about in this. And that even when they launched the library feature, it's only going to be Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, and Game Gear, not Neo Geo Pocket, Color, and TurboGrafx 16 Atari Lynx. So
Do you know if there's what the method for actually updating the firmware or whatever is? Is it as simple as, hey, if it's got a Wi-Fi connection, or do you have to actually go plug it into your PC and do all that stuff?
Good question. I don't think they have Wi-Fi, so with
at
standard
2.4G.
analog. Well, maybe I'll answer, Mike, because I've got a few analog products. But like the standard ones, you actually just put like an SD card and it updates the console itself. And they've built it, like as opposed to other things, even computers, they've built it in such a way you can't brick it. It's like unbrickable, even if you have a corrupted firmware that you're trying to install on it. So they've thought about that pretty deeply, but not a Wi-Fi based solution, unfortunately. The one other thing is like just a few things I wanted to point out that the AnalogueOS, they're actually going to make it work on the Duo as well. But they've confirmed, and it's in the Polygon article I'll show next, that it will not work on the prior analog consoles. And I was like thinking about it, I'm like, shit, I think they might again re-release the Super NT, so like the Super Nintendo clone console and the Mega Drive, and incorporate these library features. And, they're obviously trying to protect themselves with some of the disclosures here where they talk about, Analogue Pocket does not play copyrighted ROM files, plays legacy game cartridges via the cartridge slot. And the other critical one is it doesn't operate using any BIOS files or any other entities, and it designs all of its hardware from scratch. So, they seem to be pretty good operators, the guys who run this company. I think that they've already thought through if they get sued, like how do they stand up against all that kind of stuff.
Here on the Big Week podcast, Big Week in Gaming, we ask important questions. And the question I have for you, Indigo.
Yes.
Have they confirmed if Phil Fish is making the little intro track for this new OS?
Because he did make it. He has made it for the last two. So he made it for the Super NT, and then I think he also made it for the Mega SG. But don't quote me on that one. I know that he did make it for the NT Noir update. So I don't think they've confirmed it from what I remember, but
Thank you for giving a very serious answer to a joke question.
No, but it's cool. I love the intro for the consoles. They look amazing. Like, this is part of what I love about Analog. Like, it's just very slick, everything that they do. I just going through the Polygon article quickly again, because it actually has the guy who runs, like Chris Tabor, who runs Analog. Like, he's actually quoted and interviewed a little bit. I did find it funny how it says, finally, Pocket gets access to save states and screenshots when it's not even out yet. Disappointing that they're not going to backport the AnalogueOS, but maybe that's because of, the functionality of it all. And again, Kevin Horton, or, Kevtris as most people know him, getting a big shout out in this article, which I thought was really, really cool. They are using experts and researchers, people who have complete game sets for a lot of these systems, to make sure they're cataloging everything correctly. And just to let you know how it works, and I think it's really cool that you can actually go into like a game store, pick up like in this article is talking about Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which has 18 different revisions, plug it into the Pocket, and it will tell you which revision the actual cartridge is. Wow. So like, if you're into that kind of stuff, to me, it is like the absolute, like, it's like a dream device for me. Like, and I know people are probably going to attack me and say I'm an analog shill, but like, for what they're trying to do, it's pretty amazing. And then the last thing I just want to shout out is I feel like this whole part that they go into from Chris Tabor is like a bit of an attack on the Mister. And you know what? Like, I will get a Mister. And I don't understand why people need to have like console wars and all this kind of stupidity. And what's happening now is like, it's getting to be like Mister versus Analog, which I'm just like, it literally can buy both, or you can buy the Mister and not buy Analog, or vice versa. It's fine.
Well, also, one is very much a different level of consumer.
Yes.
Like, I would buy an Analog Pocket, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy a Mister. It's just not. I want the plug and play, or as close to plug and play as you can get with these kind of devices.
Well, you know what? It's like you've read this before. Chris Tabor has got you in mind, Sweeney. So he's like talking about like off-the-shelf dev boards. He's actually saying that they believe, because there's two FPGAs on the Pocket, it's a lot weaker than the DE10, which is the the one that's all based around the Mister. But he actually is saying that they expect most of the cores, so like, you know, most of the systems to come onto the Pocket. Kevtris in like this Discord that I'm on with them all, he actually did confirm in the Discord that Super Nintendo Genesis is definitely coming to the Pocket. So it almost seems like officially, it will come to the Pocket. And, you know, a lot of the way that they're talking about the playlists and loading games and everything like that, it sounds like when the console, the handheld, and I'm expecting it to be jailbroken, which means you'd be able to play ROMs off the SD card, which they don't approve, but funny enough, a lot of the people who work at Analog are the ones releasing that like firmware, which, you know, ... I just feel like, you know, it's kind of like been built to like be a Super Nintendo Genesis and below like console on the go, which is just nuts.
It's very telling that they did the 4-face buttons, really.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, given all the kind of consoles that they're trying to target, even with the GBA, it doesn't need the 4-face buttons. And then the last thing is just that more, like this is from Chris Tabor, that more Pockets will be in stock and shipping a bit after pre-orders ship. So, like, trust me, we're trying to do everything we can to keep these in stock. You know, COVID hasn't done anyone any favors, and we've gone to great lengths to produce as many as possible and continue to do so. So, people are always asking about when are they going to allow for pre-orders. It does seem like in December onwards, they will open up for pre-orders again. So, no, like, I thought it was a really cool update. It's been received very poorly by, like, the community who, like, cares about this kind of stuff. You know, I think it's really great. There's, like, a lot of cool features that they're showing off with the Pocket. You know, I'm really, really looking forward to getting mine hopefully in December, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, like I can't wait to like other people can order it, because it's kind of been like a bit annoying for everyone that they haven't been able to actually order it like all this way through.